You're sitting there in what's that, Streeterville, Gold Coast? What do you call your neighborhood?
Yeah, Streeterville. Yeah, looking out the lightning right now. There's a like big window behind me.
Yeah, I love the floor to ceiling windows you have in there. I like how you decorated it. What were you saying about the chandelier behind you there?
Oh yeah, I just installed that a few days ago, and I put a dimmer on it yesterday. So okay, probably can't really see it that
No,
well.
I can. It looks very restoration hardware.
Yeah, pretty excited about it. It's my first chandelier that I've purchased and installed. So
Right on, dude. Well, this is a podcast about work motivation, work styles, just, motivation, personal development in general. You and I were kind of talking about the last few years, doing certain things to get there, as it relates to your apartment or to work. Like, maybe just start with work. Like, how do you focus? How do you consider getting stuff done throughout the day? I know that you start later than some people. Maybe go into that for a second.
yeah, well, I have a little thing called ADHD,
Okay.
which is something that I've been dealing with my whole life, and obviously has been modern day society been very socialized and glamorized as something like everybody has or whatever, and so it's kind of hard saying that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been a constant struggle throughout my life. So honestly, on a daily basis, doesn't matter what I'm doing, if it's like if I'm doing work, I want to work, or if I'm like trying to get stuff done around the house, or even just get up to go outside to hang out with people socially, it's a challenge for me. And so I've had to come up with different ways to basically trick my brain into working.
Really?
For a lack of a better term. But a lot of my days, I basically am like all or nothing when it comes to motivation and focus. And so it'll take me a lot of the morning. Plus, I'm a night owl, so I'm always staying up late, which is a redundancy, because owls, of course, are nocturnal. So if you were saying a night owl, you're just saying it like a night owl. Anyways, and so I'll spend a lot of the morning personally, unless one thing I'll do is I'll try and set meetings early to try and like get me in the mood quicker, so I don't delay too much. But if I don't have meetings that day, usually I just kind of be planning, organizing, relaxing, and then usually it hit right after lunch, and then I'll hyper focus from like 1 to like 6. I'll get like 8-9 hours of work done in like 4 or 5, and then lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. And it goes back to what we were saying about knowing yourself, like the fact that that when you say you trick your brain, are you saying that the early meetings are a way to trick it to like jumpstart it, or what is it?
Yeah, because it forces me to do something, right? Like if I have, let's say if I have like busy work to do, if I have just stuff I have to do on my computer, that's so independent work. It's harder to get the gears turning, right? And I'm sure a lot of people can probably sympathize with that. Versus if you have an obligation, if you have a meeting with other people that are depending on you to be there, then it's not, it's not really an option, right? You can't do it later, right? You can't, and put it off. Well, I am a manager now, so there are times where I do put it off. I pretty much set all the meetings now, but I'm intentional about trying to start them earlier, so get it going. And once you're in the meeting and you're getting work mode more quickly, then usually the transition of doing independent work is easier.
Yeah. So are you still at BDO or a different company, managing recruiting or, talent acquisition? What are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, so no, I'm not a BDO anymore. I'm at a company called the Georgia Nut Company, which is a family-owned candy manufacturing company up in Skokie. And so I am leading the whole talent acquisition function for that company. So basically essentially any company, any any staff that they need to hire, whether it be operational like plant workers up through the executive level, I'm responsible of finding. Me and my team are responsible for finding. And I've been there. I've been here about 9 months or so, maybe coming up on 10 months. But the reason I took this job, honestly, is I've been in recruiting now over 4 years, and I can sit there and I can churn and burn candidates all day, and I can recruit all day. But what really gets me excited and motivated is the strategy. It's like the big stuff, right? It's the process and build outs. And that's stuff that I've always done last few years in recruiting, and I've mentored people and in terms of like developing them as recruiters, and it's just what I really like to do. And so when I joined this company, they essentially had zero talent acquisition process.
Yeah.
Just a picture, just like they're 76 years old, but family owned the whole time, so it's basically like an old school manufacturing company.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing, the same ways I've always done it forever. And I remember I came in my first day and I was shadowing one of the recruiters on the team, and I sat down next to her, and day one, I say, all right, show me what you do, right? And not even 5 minutes in, before walking me through some of the stuff, I said, okay, so all of this is going to need to be redundant, So, so since they did everything manually on paper, it was, nothing was streamlined, nothing was automated. And so that's what I love to do. That's why, I took the job. I'm really excited about it. I can get my teeth in that. So since then, I've implemented a called ATS, an applicant tracking system.
Yep.
Which, automates a whole candidate process. It allows for candidates, they didn't even have functionality for candidates to apply online for them to receive resumes. It was all like manual applications or, emails. And so was able to do that. Revamped a whole like onboarding process and orientation process. Obviously, like wrote a lot of recruiting procedures and trained the whole team here. And really just, our website was super out of date. So I was working with IT and marketing to revamp our website. Now we have a brand new website now. So really just, touching a lot of different areas.
Yeah. Good for you, man. When you said that you love to do like process improvement, is that, for instance, get in the ATS, is it all about like recruiting process, or that in general? Like, do you enjoy the side projects, helping the IT team do the website? What is it about that love for you?
Yeah, it's really just if I can help somewhere and I have ideas, I think we can improve in some area. I want to do it, and I think that I'm in a unique situation where it's not just my department that needs assistance and help and to be brought into the, current century, but a lot of other areas, right? So for example, we have this orientation process where, candidates come in and sit in a classroom for the first couple of days of work. And we have one of our HR women go through a lot of the policies, procedures, sexual harassment stuff, right?
Yeah.
And there's training after that, and then there's like benefits stuff. And I remember sitting through this my first day and just being like, "What is happening? Like, this is horrible." Like, this whole experience is just like extremely boring and tedious and a complete waste of time. Totally. Not at all engaging. I'm learning nothing. Like this, I could fall asleep in this room. Like, this is not this isn't a terrible first impression for candidates to get, and obviously if my job is to bring people in, so I'm like external bringing them in. Usually, traditionally, recruiters, that's when our job stops, right? Because then the internal, HR team, and then we'll take them and then they'll get hired by their specific team. But in this case, it didn't stop there, because if people were coming in and then leaving within their first week, if we couldn't retain the people that I was hiring, then what am I doing? And so I kind of attributed to the metaphor of you need to you can't fill a cup that's got a bunch of holes in it, right? Because it'll just keep emptying. And so I've been trying to fill those holes, right? Yeah. So looking at additional benefits we can offer. Recently I'm in process of developing a full mentor program for people within their first 3 months. And schedule check-ins, things like that, to make people feel more comfortable and acclimated, be able to speak freely, comfortably. So I'm working a lot more on the retention side now, but again, that's not ultimately my job, right? My job is to bring people in. It's the job of the managers and the company, everybody else, to keep their teams from not leaving, but they're not doing a great job of it, and so just stepping up.
No, my first job, or first couple, I worked at FedEx, and I remember that first day of just okay, now we're going to sit in a room and go over all these procedures and policies, and and it's just so boring. It's backbreaking, horrible. I get it. It's all super important, but if you could do that via a web module, or kind of expedite that information so that people say, yes, I understand, I can read it and I can see it, without having someone up, even that lady, she has to show up every day and do that. So I hope that you're able to kind of do some more automation there.
Yeah, I have been, especially with the salaried folks, higher level folks. I've totally automated the onboarding process for them, so they can do all the onboarding remotely. Challenge has been, with the operators, right? So with plant workers, machine operators, right? And a lot of them, aren't super tech savvy, right? Some of them don't even have computers, right? And so they need to be, walked through a lot of it. So that's been more of a challenge of kind of getting that phase of things up to speed. And my background has all been at the corporate level, kind of the higher level, executive level type roles. So this has been a new experience for me as well. When I started this job, I had never recruited any machine operators, never any operational folks. So it's been a big learning curve for me as well.
Yeah. Wasn't your previous specialty doing accounting, finance, those kinds of people, or pretty much any kind of desk role?
Yeah. So I started off in I majored in accounting, went into that, and I was there for about 4 years, and then that's when I moved to recruiting. When I was up in Milwaukee, then I moved to Chicago, and then moved to recruiting specifically for accounting and finance folks. I worked for this big agency, Parker and Lynch, on Michigan Avenue. Super cutthroat kind of company, and very competitive, but learned a ton. I mean, that's where I learned how to become a recruiter.
Yeah. I remember that you were pounding the phone all day and just so fast paced. And for guys like you and me, that might be, we might struggle with the ability to stay focused. I remember right out of school, I was a machine. I would just pick that phone up and another call. And I was really good at the transactional stuff. But I realized that my ability to be creative, or like you said, think critically, it wasn't necessarily welcomed, because you're supposed to be a machine. So there's a very real reason that people leave. You learn what you can, and then you find another role. So that's kind of my reflection of what you're saying there.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. And I was very successful. When I left, the team I had 3 guys I was mentoring under me, and this company, just to give you some perspective, they had 75 offices nationwide. So it was part of the largest recruiting agency conglomerate called the Adhd Group in the entire world. So they would have these rankings that they would release as of nationwide rankings, right? Like top 20 freshman year recruiters, or top 20 first year recruiters, right? And then top 20 sophomore. top sophomore recruiter second year, right? And I was way up there. My first year I was top 10 in the country, and then my second year I was the number one in the Midwest and like top 5 in the nation. So I had a lot of momentum going into my third year. Like I had developed a big book of business and like a lot of things, but my ultimately I know a lot of people are, but I'm not motivated specifically by money. And obviously, there were a lot of people on my team that were doing the exact same job as me that had been there for 20 years, just doing the same thing, churning and burning, making huge money. But for me, I want to continue to develop my skill set and like, just who I am and like learn. And so I felt that I was about 2.5 years. I thought I kind of plateaued there in terms of like what I was learning. And so it was kind of time,
Yeah. I know what you're saying by that.
You're so good at this, blah, 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 and I'm like, I want to go in-house. I want to learn what this function is and inside of a company. And I feel like a lot of companies have really clunky, not great talent acquisition groups. And I was like, I learned all this. I want to bring this value somewhere and like develop it and learn about other areas that I can help with. And so that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. Well, the company you work for now is a smaller company, it sounds like, at least from the desk job perspective. But, talk to me a little more about a small company versus a big one. Like, are you able to find those kinds of opportunities with your new company?
Yeah. I mean, being in a larger company, obviously you're much more siloed, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is the role that you're filling. This is, here are your job duties, this is what you got to do, right? And when you're stepping out of them, if you're trying to go above and beyond or whatever, like all the ancillary stuff is nice, but like nobody cares about that unless you're delivering on the real reason that what you're hired for, right? As well as you're not necessarily like given more opportunities to do things, because there's usually people to do that, right? Whatever it is, there's somebody hired to do whatever that thing is. And so the nice part about, this small company is that, like, again, kind of what I was saying, like I have my hands in all these different buckets. I'm able to, I have these ideas and I'm able to run with them, right? I mean, people want to know what I'm thinking and, want to continue improving things versus, you mentioned BDO. I was there, and that was my first company I was with when I left Barker and Lynch. They're the 5th largest public accounting firm in the world. And that was my mentality when I started there. I was like, oh, I want to go in here and like bring a lot of this expertise and like kind of develop some stuff. And like they were having none of that.
Totally. Yeah.
We want you to recruit accountants. That's it. And that was absolutely awful for me. Like it's just, I didn't get to do really what I wanted to do. And public accountants don't want to leave public accounting to go to another public accounting firm. If you know anything about public accountants, they graduate, they go to public accounting, and then they go in-house somewhere. That's the track. You don't usually go from public to public. People don't stay in that industry for a long time. So it just wasn't fun. I was only there 6 months, and I was like, this is awful. I'm out.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in this position where I talk to the COO and the CFO and the CEO almost on a daily basis, right? Like updating them on things. I'm the subject matter expert, and I'm the SME in recruiting, right? If there's questions, if there's instructions, if there's presentation that need to be given, if there's data that needs to be put together, like I do that, right?
Nice.
None of that stuff is me just being on the phone, right? And that's the stuff I really like. Again, I can recruit. I'm good at it. I know that I'm good at it. And I do like to do it, but not for 8 hours a day. Like I like to have a lot of those other pieces as well. I like to manage and mentor and teach as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing my account plan. My company has basically July 1st to June 30th is our fiscal. So here we are in August, and we're making sure that we're going to hit our numbers for, next June 30th. How do you do that? You plan, right? That's actually an area that I'm not very good at, is like taking a lot of different detail and then wrapping it up into a broader plan. So what I'm trying to say is, like, if I had 6 hours in a day, my question is like, what do I do? Like, I need to be on the phone with my customers selling specific things, right? But like, how the heck do I organize that time? And so what I'm wondering is, like, when you're super productive from like 1 to 6, how do you organize those 5 hours and then make sure that you're doing the right stuff? Like, for instance, if you're building decks or gathering data or maybe improving a process, how do you decide which of those things gets priority?
Uh, it's, I would say it's probably whatever I'm most interested in doing at that exact moment.
Yeah.
But what I do typically is I'll do all three of those things simultaneously. Like I'll have all three of those projects open. Like I'll have like my Excel sheet with data, and then I'll have like Word document and stuff and the process that I need, and I'll have like the list of people that I need to call, right?
Mhm.
And I'll have in the morning, I'll have kind of I have every day I physically write out a to-do list, right? I have a legal pad, and every day I write
Mhm.
to do,
Yeah.
and I just wrote that, right? And I'm like, I'm not leaving until this is done, right? So if I'm gonna procrastinate this, if I'm not gonna be able to move through it, then I will continue to stay late, right? Um, and so I start off, and I think the easiest way, in terms of the first thing, I guess, if we're prioritizing, and for me, it's kind of to get going and get motivated, is to do the smallest thing first, right?
Yeah.
The easiest thing, right? The thing that's going to give me like instant validation, right? Like I'm going to have that feeling of accomplishment with like next to no effort, right? And that could be email these three people back, right? Like answer these, or process these, two candidates through our system, which is basically like sending a couple of emails and clicking a few buttons, right? Something very, very, kind of small, trivial, but that starts it off. And so the next thing we'll do is a little bit bigger, right? Take a little bit more time, a little more brain power, right? But you're already kind of feeding off that first thing that you got done, right? So it's kind of like stepping stones, right? And then you get to the point where it's me when I'm in the zone, and then when I'll have these, multiple projects up at once usually. And so I'll be working on one, right? And it'll be going well. And maybe I'll hit like a snag, right? I'll think like, oh man, like this is going to be tough to like continue in this direction. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it. And I'll sort of like pull back from that a little bit. But then I'll just jump over to this one, right?
Mhm.
And then I'll start working on this one, right? Because starting that off is, start doing the easy stuff of that one, right? And then I'll hit a snag on that one, right? And then I'll go to the next one, work on that a little bit, right? Um, and meanwhile, while I'm transitioning, right, from the first one, second one, third one, in the back of my mind, maybe even subconsciously, I'm thinking about how I want to do those other ones, right? So I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone, right? Uh,
Sure.
where it's not like I'm doing one thing, get snagged, stop, think about it, get up, go to coffee because I'm a little discouraged or whatever, come back, try and think about it, and then like get into it. I keep it's all about fighting that inertia, right? You got to
Yeah.
keep the ball rolling, right?
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
you're dead, right?
Even that first thing about doing the easy stuff first, like, I've had different people say that differently. I do the hardest thing first. I'm actually someone who does the easier thing first, or the quickest thing, because it builds that momentum.
Mhm.
um yeah, I love the notepad too, the to do, like four words, dot dot, like. And then I'm curious more about your progress overall with that, like how every day you do that, and you're sitting there at the on Friday and you're saying, damn, I got so much done this week. Do you think that's the key, is just kind of like not leaving until you get everything done? Or do you think it's the fact that don't stop, you don't get coffee till you get everything done? What is it?
It's just the fact that I can physically see what I need to do, right? Like I can, I can mentally, make a list, chronologicalize, that's a word in my
Mhm.
brain of things I need to do. But if I can like see a checklist, because I'm like extremely visual in terms of how I process information, how I learn things, I need to see it. It's if someone's explaining something to me, it'll take them 3 or 4 times till it gets in here, right? But if I can see it, then it's a lot easier for me to process it. So I have this, legal pad on my desk, like one of the only physical things I have on my desk. And like I do pretty much everything electronically, I keep a clean desk. But I have this notepad, and most of it is just filled up with to-do lists of every single day. And I'll just, as I'm thinking about what I need to do, because I'll have this in my brain, I'll be like, okay, so I need to do this. I'm gonna write that down, right? And then this, and then right. But as I'm thinking about that, other things will kind of like pop up. Like, oh, if I do that, I got to remember to talk to this person, right? It can be like a little thing, like, oh, I just need to like check in with this one hiring manager about this one person. Like, I just need to give them an update, right? Something that's not gonna, if I don't do it, isn't gonna really have an impact on anything one way or the other, but like it's still important, something really small. I'll put that on the list, right?
Yeah.
Most of these things aren't like these giant projects. These are like, small things that are easily accomplishable, but it's several things on there, right? And then when I get it done, I will check it off every time. Go back to it, check it off. Next thing, check it off, right? And so that gives you that, gives me at least that, like, says, like, one more down. Let's keep the momentum going, right?
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this is because like I know that I struggle with focus. And it's like if I can just learn the best things from each of my friends or people in my network on what they do. Like for me, I'm audio, but I definitely get distracted if I have like one thing going, then I have my visual thing on my other screen. Then the to-do list is, I love the fact that you can see it and it's tangible. And even the smallest stuff, write it down and like check it off. Like it's really that, it's like blocking and tackling of getting shit done, right? So
yeah, I'll even go so far as like, if I do something that's not on my list, but it was something that I would, if I had thought about it while I was making my list, I would have put it on there. I'll do it and then I'll write it on the list and then I'll immediately check it off.
get it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, but like I know that like that's still, which sounds stupid. Like again, it's these visual cues. I can see that's another thing that I've checked off, that I've completed, and I can continue that. It's going to help the momentum, even if it's like a placebo. It still will help.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. Like just building momentum, not artificially, but like, yeah, you get to take credit for everything you do. So awesome.
Right. And it's just a small form of self-care, right? It's like, I've completed this, good work, and it's, and
yeah, cool. I want to kick it over to some personal stuff in a second, just like how you spend your time outside of work and everything. But before I get into that, weren't you interviewed by a magazine or something recently, or you were on TV or something?
Yeah, both. So for the magazine, one of my old clients actually at Parker and Lynch was as the IACP, the Illinois CPA Society, and I actually recruited for them, like for in-house finance folks. And the director of HR reached out to me, a few weeks ago and said, hey, we have this writer who's doing a report on the current like labor market and the struggles within it. And I thought she'd be a good person for you to connect with and talk to. And so she connected us, and she gave me a call and just went through all of my thoughts on, why we're in the current state that we're in terms of from a macroeconomic, with labor shortage, to my personal experience internally with my job. And so, yeah, she wrote this article. I wasn't the only one in it. There were a few other higher level people than me. Like pretty much everyone else in there were like CHROs and like.
Good for you, man.
Yeah,
bumping elbows with them.
So yeah, but that was great. And then I also, one of the things I did to kind of spur hiring in my company was I planned a career fair in my company. So I, we were all set up. And again, these are for operators, these are for machine workers, primarily hourly workers. And set up basically organized, set up these big tents out in front of our building. And we had candidates basically show up fill in an application. We had a skills test they had to take. They would take the skills test, then they would get a tour of the facility. If that went well, then they would sit down and interview with the production manager. And if that went well, we'd give them an offer on the spot, and they would sign it and they would leave. So they would do the entire process that day, right? So they would literally leave with a job. And so I'll kind of orchestrate this. And then I went on WGN radio live to promote it. And then helped kind of like write scripts for commercials that they could run. And then I actually went on WGN TV as well, live, and promoted it that way. So yeah, it was a good experience. We ended up hiring like about 20 people one day. It was super successful. Yeah.
Nice, dude. Props on just that project in general. 15 minutes of fame, but also getting a kickback from what you're paid to do, which is get people in and build the company.
Cool. But it is interesting, like what like the CEO could have gone and promoted this, right? Like it's funny that that I was the one that they had to do it. And this is a family-owned company, right? Yeah. So like most of the higher-ups are all related, right? There's like 910 people that work for the company, and so I'm not part of the company. I'm part of the family. And so it felt pretty cool that had that level of trust that they put in me to do that, and it went really well. So
yeah, for sure, man. Kind of last question here. You said something about
my company and manufacturing, but across the board, right? I'm sure you're seeing like people just like leaving Burger King and McDonald's, like and like the hospitality industry and restaurant industry, and like all these other industries are suffering. I just moved into this place. And I bought this new couch, and it took 3 months to get here. Right? It wasn't built here, right? Why is that? So I'll say the first one is, right off the bat is, obviously the unemployment, supplemental income. A lot of these folks are getting the additional unemployment benefits. A lot of them can not work and make as much, if not more, not working. And obviously working at a plant, it's demanding work, right? You're on your feet all day and cement, you're lifting heavy things. And so, when you talk about me and my work, that in terms of me recruiting, that target population has been extremely tight, right? Because a lot of those folks, will opt to just not work, right? And then on top of that, I don't know if you knew this, Illinois and Chicago is kind of like the candy capital of the U.S., right? You got Kraft here, you have Mars, Blommer, you have Ferrari, Ross George Nut, all these candy companies. So everybody's trying to find the same types of candidates.
Yeah.
So it's tight. So that's one thing. The next is, I think, with the pandemic and everybody spending all this time alone, and people are realizing that, not just that, but also you have these companies, these big private equity companies and stuff, where they're like hiring these people out of college and they're going to work 100-hour work weeks and just treating them like dog shit. And people are realizing they're working from home, right, doing their thing. And most of these companies, they're still alive. They're still here, right? They didn't die like these big guys. And so, obviously, it's mom and pop shops and restaurants, sadly, a lot ahead of time, but a lot of companies are still around. And so people are realizing hey, I don't need to be treated like shit to be successful and work. Yeah. And so people are demanding better, work environment, right? They're like, I'm not gonna, I deserve better. I want, they want to work from home. They want to be paid more. They want to work less hours, right? The environment, the mentality of the modern day professional is changing from where it was of bragging to your friends, yo, I just worked 100-hour work week. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm the shit. It's that value meter is moving from that to having a more, egalitarian lifestyle, utilitarian lifestyle. I want to do all these different things. I don't value that as much, just because why would I? Right? I know I can be just as happy without that. And I've learned that throughout the pandemic. So I feel like that's globally is happening.
Yeah.
Seeing, Target, Walmart, they're offering full scholarships and educations now. companies are putting up crazy incentives for people, to get to work. And the thing is, they can afford it. These companies can afford it, no problem. They've been treating their workers like dog shit, and now the chickens come to roost. Right? People are like, no,
Yeah.
right. So I think that's a big part of it, as well.
Yeah. No,
I'll
cool, man.
stop it there. There's a lot more to it, but well, I'll tell you one more thing. The third reason, I think these are the big three. The last one is, and I'll just keep it quick, is from a labor choice perspective, is, obviously everybody have, where in a small town you might have had 20 restaurants. Now there's 10 of them closed, and only 10 restaurants, but now twice as many people want to go to just those 10 restaurants, because people that probably weren't going out all the time
Yeah.
now want to, right? So and then everybody's buying all these clothes, everybody's moving to new houses, and everybody wants things. So demand is like, it's like hyperinflated compared to supply. And so that's like, making things extremely tight. So
Yeah. No, thank you for all those. The first one, about motivation, that's fascinating to me, but the second one specifically, just, like, I love the idea of the employee experience. Part of what I sell is a suite of modern work solutions for a big company. And like, we're trying to fundamentally change, especially what we call the knowledge worker, people that are sitting at a desk or doing something with other people over the phone, or, um, giving them great experiences that are the same experience, whether they're at home or at the office, or I don't know, at the beach, whatever it might be.
right.
And everything you were saying about that, where people are kind of pushing back, that's exactly what this podcast is about. Because it's about people's natural inclination to want to come to work and create, value in the way they want to. You mentioned that money wasn't the thing for you, but there is something that you care about, right? So how can Georgia Nut or BDO or whatever it is give Devin that kind of experience and make it valuable for you? So I'm really trying to get to the center of, like, what is it for people that will make, and it's not about building some corporation's, profit or, EBITDA score better. It's about creating a beneficial relationship between the employer and the employee. So people are spending their time doing what they want to do. So, I mean, yeah, I've seen it. This has been a crazy summer. I feel like everyone's trying to jam pack 4 things into one weekend, with the weddings and the, all the different events. And even going back to what you were saying about like the restaurants, like I feel like there's a Chick-fil-A on every corner now, and each one of them has the drive-through out the window. Like it's it's crazy. There's more cars in the road. People are just so pent up, ready to do stuff, right? So I'm touching on a lot there, but everything you just said is super valuable insight.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy time.
Yeah.
And that's actually something I'm also working on at work as part of this mentor program. Is just that's only a subsect of the full employee experience revamp, right? And it's fine. I haven't written down the kind of the main 5 points that like motivate people, but it's making an impact, right? It's growth is developing, right? It's being a part of the culture and connecting with that, right? I mean, when I say I'm not motivated by money, of course I like to make money.
Of course,
right?
yeah,
So,
of course.
of course, it is definitely on the list of motivators. It's absolutely on there, right? It's in the top half, right? But it's not number 1 or number 2 or number 3. And if, like, to put it as simply as I can, from this perspective, is I would rather make way less money and do something I love versus make a ton of money and do something I hate, right? I would choose the former 10 out of 10 times, because this is something you're spending the majority of your life
doing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're one of your waking hours doing, and everybody thinks about it differently, but I don't get motivated unless I really am excited about what I'm doing. I'll just be like, I can't do it. It's stupid. I'm not learning anything, not growing. I'm just wasting time. And time is the most precious commodity, right? I mean, and so, I have to love what I'm doing. I have to be interested. It has to keep me focused. And so that's why I want to keep developing this stuff.
Yeah. Impact matters to me, but personal growth is really big. Like yesterday I got presented with this project and at first it freaked me out. I was like, I can't do that. Or, that's yikes, it's not how I do it. And then once I started tackling it and I actually got on the call and did it, I got so motivated because I realized for me, it's about personal growth. Like I almost fell in love with the idea that even if this project or this specific customer doesn't buy this thing, like this is valuable for me to know just for my own growth as an employee, right? And that's it for me, man. Like, how do I just keep pushing forward and growing?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Let's wrap it up here in a second, but I ask everyone a question. For you, I know you've been doing like soccer for a while. You've been the captain of a couple intramural teams. Let's see. What was the craziest soccer intramural game you ever played, and why?
Yeah, we actually have a championship is tomorrow night, actually. It's a double header.
Okay.
If we win the first one, then we'll go to the championship. But if we lose, then we'll be out. So hopefully we can win. I would say in recent memory, this was actually like last session, so probably like 2 months ago. This is my men's league. We play on Sunday nights. And again, this is 11 and 11, full field, like the whole 9 yards. And it was, we're in the championship game, and we had both teams had played a doubleheader. It was a bunch of teams, and we had just played a doubleheader. We played one game, and then immediately after started another game, right? And then the team we played second, they had played like earlier in the night, and they had a break because it was another game, and then we played them. So both us and them had played 2 games, but we just played 2 games back to back, which is a ton of soccer, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we play 30,
a lot of running.
We play 35 and a half, so that's 70-minute games. So it's 140 minutes of straight soccer. There's no timeouts, right? There's only halftime, which is only a few minutes. And so anyway, so it's going the games. It's late. It's like a late game. It's in the middle of it's a Sunday night. It's a Sunday night, but the game it's like 10 o'clock at night, and it's a tie game. I think it's 1-1, and the game ends in a tie, and we're like rushing to get this to start PKs because the lights in the field are on timers. Like the refs don't control them.
Oh no!
Like if we don't get this done, like the lights are going to turn off, right? And so we're like hustling to so we're picking people to shoot PKs, and so we're going back and forth, right? And we end up tying in PKs 5-5, right? So of course when you tie in PKs, it's just basically the sudden death. It's just like 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. And so the other team was up first, and as the guy was like the sixth guy was walking up, the lights just shut off. The place goes pitch black, right? Like we're up in Montrose, so it is dark. Like you can't see anything. So we're just like both teams at this point are just laughing. Like we're just having a good time. It's so ridiculous, and everybody is so tired playing this much soccer. So lights all go off. We're like, well, like that's it, I guess. Like we can't see anything. We can't finish it. And then so we just started walking out the field and thinking that was it. And then the ref runs over with a coin, because we thought it was over. And someone shines a light. He's like, all right, guys, flipping a coin for who's the winner,
Yeah.
And he flipped the coin and we won. You're like this. And so we won these team pullovers that they had, but we ended up giving like a bunch of them to the other team too, kind of like split them. But yeah, that was a crazy game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the fact that the lights went off and like it's a little, if I lost as the other team, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of like not fair, but it's cool you guys had sportsmanship to give them some of the pullovers.
Yeah. I mean, it literally came down to a coin flip, and everybody was so tired, like they were too tired to care. You know what I mean? Like, that's so I don't know.
Yeah, I've been there, man. It's when it's back to back or just like a late game. Some of these intramural games in Chicago start at like 10. It's too late. Anyway, man, thank you for coming on the podcast. Everything you said, I really appreciate, and like the to-do list or just the idea of doing the first thing it's easy, like that all helps me and hopefully helps my viewers. So give me a couple maybe a day or two and I'll get this up on YouTube. And thanks again for coming on, man.
Sure thing, man. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, man. See you later. Bye.
Take care.